They say that when I was born, science had shown that someone destined for greatness had just arrived. I grew up with this pious, quiet spirit, and I had known from an early age that I wanted to spend my life working in the house of God. So I did just that. I became a church worker. My life was dedicated to doing and spreading God's word. It was in church, while working, that I met my husband. He was a stellar member of the choir, and somehow we got drawn to each other. We dated for only 2 years before we got married in a simple yet elegant ceremony. That was one of the best days of my life. 1.5 years later, I had never missed a period, never had a pregnancy scare. It was obvious that something was wrong. Something had to be blocking or delaying I and my husband's attempts at procreation. But what could that be? I decided to speak to my husband about it. I talked to him about my fears and my misgivings. I suggested that we go for tests, but he stated that God's time is the best. He asked me to brush up my faith and wait for God to do His will. I listened to him, buried myself in church activities, and in so doing, 2 years passed. I had still not fallen pregnant, so I went back to my husband. I told him I had seen articles online saying that being unable to get pregnant after 1 year of trying was termed infertility. I told him that we needed to do tests in order to find out what was wrong and why we had not been able to get pregnant. My husband said no. He said that all we needed was prayers. We only needed to seek the face of God. I sighed. But I had no choice but to stay submissive to my husband's will. I waited. Another 2 years, still nothing to show. My husband had become a pastor, and I was now the leader of the Women of Faith meetings. Just imagine, a childless woman leading mothers of 1, 2, 3, and more. I always felt so much pain as my heart yearned for my own children. I would always get invited for naming ceremonies, some of which I even officiated in. Such duties are always carried out with mixed feelings. I always felt joy for the new parents. I also felt jealousy for what I wished I had and pain that mine was not yet forthcoming. Each invite seemed to ignite more pain in me, and at a point, it began to seem that the invites were being given out of spite or with sarcasm, so my frustration increased. As soon as my marriage clocked 4 years, I put my foot down. We had to go to the hospital to find out what was wrong, so my husband agreed and up we went. Our test results showed nothing abnormal. Everything was fine. However, the doctor stated that the delay could be age-related. As a woman in her late 30s, ovulation and egg quality was on a steady decline. He suggested IVF, but I was confused. What was IVF? The doctor explained that it was simply a procedure where the man's sperm is injected into the woman's egg to cause fertilization. After this is done, the resulting embryo will be placed into the woman's womb to grow and develop till birth. I was bewildered. How do they get the eggs? He explained that the eggs were extracted using a simple procedure, during which the woman would be mildly sedated. Once the eggs had been taken, they would be mixed with the sperms to develop embryos that could now grow to become fetuses and then babies. I was excited. This meant that I could have multiple babies. The doctor further explained that the number of babies were dependent on the number of eggs that he could get from me. He said that the fertilized eggs would be watched and then the best two would be transferred into the uterus. 2 weeks after the transfer, I would be required to take tests to confirm if the embryos survived the transfer and were growing properly. My heart leaped for joy at his words. I could already envision myself with my children. This was the perfect route to get to our destination. It was literally so simple. 1 plus 1, making 2. However, the doctor noticed my excitement and told me to put a damper on my enthusiasm. He informed us that medicine could not guarantee that the embryos will grow or even implant properly. My response was to brush his words away impatiently. As far as I was concerned, I had seen my way to becoming a mother, and I was set to take it. I began to beg my husband. I began to lobby for what I wanted, what I knew we needed. It took 6 months to convince him. By then, we had been married for 5 years, so he finally yielded. We went to the hospital. The reception was warm and welcoming. The nurses were kind and empathetic. The doctors were professional and so supportive. I felt my dreams soar. I could already see visions of me joining the League of Women who had quadruplets after having done IVF. We took the tests, and then we started the process. Little did I know that this wasn't like simple arithmetic like I thought. It was way more. I took injections for 12 days. 12 days I took injections to boost my eggs in order to have a better chance at becoming a mother. I was totally out of it, so I did not even read the consent form properly before signing it. I was just signing every document that was brought to me at that moment. This period was brutal. I had to inject my stomach every day, swallow pills and supplements every single day. I was given this long list of do's and don'ts, things to avoid, and so much more. It all affected me so much that I pulled back a bit from my church activities because I did not want anyone to know that I was planning to do IVF. The process of egg collection was seamless and only mildly painful. At the end of the day, I was told that they only got 3 eggs for me, and I was so disappointed. I expressed my dissatisfaction to the doctor. The embryologist, however, explained that despite having many follicles, it was possible to still have only few eggs. He said that the process was not 100% guaranteed. They could only do their best. He even told me to stay happy and hopeful. There were some women who did not have any eggs at all. At least I had 3. So we forged on. The eggs were fertilized, and later on, 3 embryos were successfully transferred into my uterus. Then the wait began. 2 weeks before I was expected to test to see if the implantation was successful. 2 weeks of horrific suspense and mixed emotions. By day 12, I could not take it any longer, so I went for my pregnancy test. Pain flooded my heart as soon as I saw the negative test result. All the pain, all the stress till this point. So I went to 4 more laboratories to check. Still the same negative result. I called my husband. I was barely coherent. I was just rambling on and on, unable to even specify exactly where I was at the moment. I later found a small restaurant which I used as a locator for my husband to come get me. He found me, picked me up, and tried to help assuage my pain. My pain quickly turned to anger against the doctor. Why? Why did they let me go through the process when they knew that it would fail? I argued with him. He had promised me that I would be pregnant. However, he was saying that he had only told me that the chances of me getting pregnant through IVF was high. He further stated that IVF was not 100% foolproof. The doctors could only do their best. A lot is still left to nature in the process. I stayed angry. I refused to listen to his reasons. Then the doctor brought out the consent form that I had signed. He asked me if I had read through, to which I answered no. Then he went on to show me where it had been stated that IVF could fail at any point in time. It could have even failed at the egg collection stage. He gave me several possible scenarios. Some women may not have any eggs. Some eggs may not be successfully fertilized. Others may not implant properly. The possibilities were endless. The baby may even be formed but suddenly stop growing properly. I angrily stormed out of the center. I was not ready to listen to any form of reason, so I went looking for and found another IVF center. I visited this new place and I recounted all that I had passed through. To my shock, the doctor said the very same thing. He asked me to manage my expectations because IVF was still not an absolute science. There were always a myriad of things that could potentially thwart the IVF process. I ran to one of our senior pastors for prayers. My second IVF was filled with prayers and fasting to the extent that I nearly injured myself. I was faint and malnourished. I saw myself as a woman of great faith, while my husband saw through the desperation which had laid a strong hold on my heart. Another year had passed. We did our second round of IVF. This new doctor said that he was going to change things up by using better procedures and stronger injections for my IVF process. Again, on the day of egg collection, they were only able to harvest 2 eggs. I cried. I knew that the more eggs were available, the higher the chances of success. Only 2 eggs? I felt as if my body had let me down. Still, I stayed in faith and prayed over my eggs. Behold, one of the eggs became non-viable, so I was left with just 1 egg for transfer. I embarked upon a serious fasting and prayer while waiting for my pregnancy test. I ignored the warning of the doctor and doubled down with my fasting and prayer, seeking the face of God. The 14th day came with more bad news. We went to a lab for the test, and I was so anxious that I could not read the results myself. My husband did the honors, and even from his countenance, I knew that we had once again suffered loss. Again, I refused to believe it, going round from lab to lab seeking a different result. At the end, I gave up. I resigned my position as a woman leader in church. I withdrew from everything that gave me joy. I became a shell of myself, lifeless, not concerned about anything, depressed. Still, as a woman of faith, I went back to the doctor. He told me that now I was over 40. He explained that it would be wise to consider using an egg donor because the quality of my eggs, as well as the available reserve, had drastically dropped. He explained that an egg donor was a younger woman with great egg quality whose eggs would be fertilized using my husband's sperm in order to give us a chance at being parents. His words stung. This meant that the baby would not have any part of my own genetic makeup. I felt disappointed in his words. How dare he even raise such? My God, my own God that I was serving was a living God, and there was nothing that he couldn't do. So I was sure that I would have my own children with my own eggs by his grace. With this, I stormed out of the hospital. Once again, I went searching, and once again, I found another IVF clinic. I told the doctor there all that I had gone through, and he said that my hormones were still okay for the process, but that my age could be a negative factor for the IVF. At 40 and above, there were increasing possibilities of birth defects and other issues which may affect the success of the procedure. He told me that there was even a higher percentage of miscarriage and IVF failure. However, I told him how much faith I had in him and in God. I told him that I had heard so many good things about his practice. I told him that I knew his success rate, so he should let us begin this process and get it all started and get it over with. Things kicked off and I was placed on diets, medicines, supplements and regimens to prepare my body for the third IVF. This time around, the IVF process seemed like it was going to be my last. We were able to get 7 eggs and I was so excited. On the day of the transfer, there were 4 good ones, but because of my age, only 2 were transferred while the remaining 2 were frozen and kept for future use. After the transfer, I followed everything that I had seen online. I lay down flat for 2 weeks, not moving a muscle, and we even had to get a maid to do things around the house. I didn't even bathe during those 2 weeks because I had read that any exertion and even the soap could kill the baby. So I avoided everything. I avoided anything wrong. I did not drink 1 drop of hot water because I was told that hot things could kill the baby. I followed every rule. No matter how funny it sounded, I followed it. I was surprised on the 10th day when I began seeing some slight bleeding. I rushed down to the clinic where I was told that it could be implantation bleeding, a sign that I was finally pregnant. Despite this news, I kept my excitement under wraps till the 14th day when I did the test and got confirmed that I was pregnant. My joy knew no bounds. I was extremely happy. I told the doctor that this was proof of his prowess, and it showed why he was deserving of the stellar reputation that he had. I was happy that all of the stress was not in vain. He asked us to come back in 2 weeks for a confirmatory scan to confirm how many babies I was carrying. The days seemed to float into each other seamlessly as I waited for the day. After 2 weeks, I went for the scan and they said they saw 2 sacs with nothing in them, but assured me that if I came back 2 weeks later, the babies would have grown more and would be more visible. It was in this way that I left with my heart in my throat and came back 2 weeks later. During the scan, I noticed that the doctor's face carried a strange look. I immediately questioned him. He turned the screen towards me and showed me where my baby should have been. I had had what is called a missed abortion. This was when an embryo was not growing, not viable, and just stayed in the uterus. He told me that even if we left the sacs in for months, there would be no growth or change in the situation. I ran a few more tests and then had to go for an evacuation. I had finally gotten pregnant and now I was being told that the babies were no more. I felt like launching myself off of a very tall building or jumping in front of a bunch of moving cars. My world seemed to cave in. I called my parents. I was asking tough questions, trying to decipher why my enemies and my village people seemed so hell-bent on making sure that I remained barren. I was fast going broke. The 3 IVFs had cost up nothing less than 10 million naira. I was getting both financially and emotionally tired. It took me 3 months to get myself back on track. I prayed. I searched deep down to find the strength to move on. I wasn't even sure if I was going to have another IVF. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to try again, but I knew what I wanted. I still wanted to be a mother. I was at a total loss on what to do.
Hello, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. It's the reason for this is for you guys to learn from people's stories, their mistakes, their ups and downs, and to empower you to make the right decision. Don't forget, you are not alone in this journey. Infertility is a journey, but it has a destination. Don't lose focus on the destination. The destination is having your babies, so do not lose focus. Most importantly, make sure your mental health is key. I believe today's episode has worked well for you. Learn from it and please share, subscribe, and next week, catch you for another episode. I remain Dr. Global. Thank you.